Hey everyone, just another Tesla guy here. Now that it's been about 2.5 months since I picked up this refresh Model 3, I figured I'll do a review on it, talk to you about my things that I like, things that I don't like, and to address the title, why I should have waited to pick up this car until now. So yeah, I picked up this car May 4th. Today is July 24th, so yeah, 2.5 months. It currently has about 3,600 miles on it almost, and at a 229 watts per mile, which is pretty efficient in my opinion for a all-wheel drive long-range Model 3. The previous Model 3 I had was just a standard range, and it was about maybe 222 watts per mile. Right, and to start with things I do like, let's start with the exterior of the car. And the first thing I would say that I like a lot is definitely the newer design of the Model 3. They definitely trimmed down, made it look a lot more sleeker. Like they said on the video, they removed the baby fat of the older Model 3. So this one just looks way, to me, looks definitely better than what we had previously. And I'm seeing a lot of these out in New Jersey as well, so that's great to see more of these Model 3 popping up. But yeah, this design definitely to me looks way better than the previous one. So yep, I'm just gonna give you more views of it, but I'm sure you guys seen plenty of videos on it. So yeah, let's talk about the next thing I like about the exterior, and that's the unlocking experience. Unlocking this car has been a way better experience than the previous Model 3, mainly due to being able to use the ultra wideband on the iPhone 11 and newer. So you never had that ability in the past to use the ultra wideband, so it primarily uses Bluetooth, and it will lock the car when you disconnect from Bluetooth, or it will unlock the car when you're within Bluetooth range. But with the older Model 3s, I have seen cases where I need to walk a little further away for it to unlock, or I need to take out my phone, unlock it, open the app to wait for the car to unlock, for it to wake up. Now with the ultra wideband, once I get out the car and I walk pretty much to the front of the car and I walk away, it will start to lock. And to unlock the car, I have never seen it fail at all compared to the older Model 3. There were some scenarios or some times where it would just not work. So unlocking it has been great. The next thing is being able to utilize the ultra wideband, which allows you to unlock the trunks hand-free. So when we're in here, it'll beep and it'll unlock, but I stepped away just before it unlocks, so it won't unlock randomly. But that's one of the newer things that you can utilize with the ultra wideband. But that's about the things I do like for exterior. So the next thing, let's get inside the car and talk about the interior. All right, let's get in and talk about the interior of the car. And I really like this newer layout, this new design. The ambient light strip, really cool in my opinion. Yes, that is misaligned, and yes, there's a gap right there. So I do actually have a ticket in to get this sorted and get it fixed. So I'll send an update once they come in and fix it. The wireless charger here, it's great. You can actually charge some of the larger phones here. In the past, you couldn't really do it on the older Model 3. So I'm glad they updated the wireless charger here. This interior build I really like. The one thing, now to talk about the one thing I don't like, is definitely the cup holders. These nubs are just really good at what they do. They keep the cup in place, and I need to pretty much like really try to get this out of here. I never had a problem with the older Model 3 cup holders. All my cups fit just fine. There was no leaking, there was no spillage, but this newer one definitely keeps it in place, and it does a really good job. So one thing I don't like, not the end of the world, but I just wish is a way for me to get rid of these nubs maybe. And the next thing I like is definitely this, now that it uses magnet to keep it in place versus the latch, because the old one, it would never latch, and I really have to like slam on it for it to latch. But that comes to one thing I don't like about this is the creaking. So applying a bit of force, very minimal force on here, it just creaks. And I wish it didn't. So I also have a service in for that. At the same time, I'm getting those ambient light fixed. So we'll see what they say about this. Hopefully they can replace it and not say it's within spec and they don't do anything about it. All right, and moving on to the next thing I like about the interior is this newer display with the rounded edges right here. Super comfortable when you're swiping up and down near here. This newer UI layout, seeing the full visualize of the car, having the mini map here. I like things a lot more than the older UI. And now moving on to things I don't like about the UI is, again, I wish I can hide this. And the next thing is, after using the UI for the last couple of months, if you miss opening the front or the trunk or the charge ports, the UI goes away and you have to wait a second or so for it to come back. So let's say I want to open the trunk and I miss, and the button completely disappears and now it reappears. So if I want to open it and I miss again, it's gone. And if I'm tapping here again, it's gone. Like, why does that disappear? If I open it, that works. And if I want to close it again, if I were to like tap somewhere else, accident, or like right near it, it just disappears. Like, let's say I want to tap here, it doesn't close. You have to really touch that button. So it's a more of a minor annoyance, not really, it doesn't ruin the experience, but I wish the buttons kind of remain there or the touch targets gets a little bit bigger in case my fat fingers I miss. That's about the UI, that's about the screen. I like it. I've seen some new updates for the summer update, so we can get a little bit more features like YouTube Music. Excited to try out those features when they come through, because I do use YouTube Music. All right, moving down to here, the driving experience, which has to me been a lot more fun than my older Model 3. Well, due to two things. One, this is the long range, so it's a little bit quicker than the older Model 3. It's not the performance, but it's a long range, so it's already faster than my previous car. And second, having the buttons here where my thumb are. While yes, I agree, there was nothing wrong with the stalks being here and here to shift pedals, but after using this and driving this car for about 2 months, I kind of prefer the buttons being here over the stalks, mainly because of where my thumb placement is, where my hand placement is. I will always never need to move far to turn on the blinkers, versus if I'm doing a turn right here, I have to let go, come here and shift again to change lanes. But with this, my thumb and my hand stays where the buttons are. And I have definitely seen and heard reports of people saying that the button gets stuck, and that happened to me maybe twice so far since I got the car. And I think it's really due to people just leaving their thumbs here versus putting it up here, because the times that it does get kind of stuck is because I rested my thumb here for a while, and when I did want to press it, it didn't activate. So for the most part, now that I'm driving, I leave my thumb here, and when I want to signal to turn or change lanes, pushing it here, it always works. There isn't a time where it doesn't work like that. So I'm totally fine with this. Having the gear selector here has been not bad at all. It's pretty much, I got used to that as well, so I have no complaints about here. The one thing that I do want to complain about a little bit is the auto shift out of park, which I have seen actually become an issue with this more recent update that gave me version 12.4.3. So let me go into dynamics. Auto shift out of park. I think it's due to this most recent update that gave me version 12.4.3 for Full Self Driving. This newer software update, there's some bugs in here because there have been a handful of times when I reverse into a spot or back into a spot. When I use the auto shift out of park, it itself asking me to drive forward, it still wants me to reverse back even though there's a curb right there. It's in the beta, so it's not perfect, just like Full Self Driving. And speaking of Full Self Driving, I don't want to get too deep into it since I have videos about it. As of today, July 24th, they are rolling out version 12.5. I just checked. I'm still on version 12.4, so I don't have the update yet, but I'm excited to try it out. 12.5 is supposed to bring and unify both the streets and highway into one stack, so no more different stack for highway, different stack for streets. Hopefully that can fix some of the highway issues I have. Hopefully that can fix some of the unnecessary lane change, because there are just so many lane changes that aren't needed. So I hope that gets fixed. But using version 12.4, I gotta say, the hands-free experience is really, really liberating. Just sitting here, miles and miles of highways, I'm just watching the road, supervising, and I don't have to apply force. Has been great. All right, so let's talk about the reason why I wish I waited to purchase the car now versus in January. And that's really just due to Tesla announcing the tax credit and the long range rear wheel drive option. Also, if you guys haven't known, you could, in this newer update, pressing this button allow you to go full screen for the browser, which is pretty cool. But yeah, now they are allowing you to get the tax credit for the long range all-wheel drive, for the performance all-wheel drive, for the long range rear-wheel drive. Pretty much every car here is eligible for the tax credit except for the single rear-wheel drive, which you just should not get at all because long range rear-wheel drive is cheaper than the standard range. But when I purchased this car in January, I opted for the red one. I opted for the 18-inch wheels, white interior, and it was delayed. It was delayed 3-4 months. I didn't get the car until May 4th. So I didn't get to enjoy the car when I purchased it, and I had to keep on waiting and waiting and waiting until I got the car. And when I got the car, the first thing I checked was how much miles I got at a full charge, and at that point it was 333 miles, which is less than the advertised range of 341 for the long range all-wheel drive. And I just thought it was just based on my driving habits when I picked up the car and drove home and drove a little bit, charged it, and that's why it was at 333, which is 8 miles less. I wasn't too upset at it. I never need to drive that many miles in the first place. And 333 was more than my previous car at 272. So of course, I'm totally fine having 8 miles less. And 6 weeks later, Tesla announced that they're rolling out the tax credit for the long range all-wheel drive. And it's eligible because they're using the older battery manufacturer, Panasonic. And the car that I have was with the LG battery, which is why I wasn't eligible for the tax credit. And the Panasonic one is actually slightly bigger. So the Panasonic one actually has the 341 miles of range. So I was first to order the Model 3. I had to pay more because it wasn't eligible for the tax credits. And I got 8 miles of 8 miles less of range. So that's why I wish I had waited. And secondly, they announced a long range rear wheel drive with even 30 miles more than me. It's a second slower, actually at like 0.7 seconds slower, but you get 30 more miles of range. And again, it's going to be cheaper, of course, and this one's also eligible for the tax credit. So that's why I wish I had waited, because now there's even more incentives. You get free supercharging, and you could also transfer full self-driving once again, which is one of the main reasons why I opted to do the trade-in back in January, because they were pushing full self-driving transfer, and it was supposed to be a one-time thing. It's not gonna come back, and it came back, and it's now being, I think it's, you can pick up the car and transfer full driving if you pick up before September, or I think it was October maybe, I read somewhere. But either way, full self-driving transfer is back, and if you were to buy the car now, you get eligible for a tax credit. You're eligible to transfer full self-driving. Pretty much, it's going to be a cheaper Model 3 for me if I were to purchase it now versus back in January. And I waited so long for the Model 3 because of the white seats. It was delayed, and Tesla never told us why it was delayed. It just was delayed because people were switching to the black interior and they were getting the car right away. But I held out. I much prefer the white, but they never told us why the white was delayed so long. And I'm just more so upset because, like, I get it. There's always going to be newer cars. They're going to be cheaper. It's going to be more range. That's understandable. That's how technology works. But it was the fact that I waited so long for the white one, because Tesla kind of forced me to wait for the white seats. If they had just forced me to wait a little bit longer, maybe I could have gotten the Model 3 with the tax credit. Or maybe I could have opted to switch to the long range rear wheel drive and get more range, pay less, and still transfer full self-driving, because full self-driving is eligible to be transferred. So I pretty much pay more for the car, got less range. There was pretty much zero benefit to me getting this car. Do I have more range? No, I have less range than the long range all-wheel drive by 8 miles. I have less range than the long range rear wheel drive for sure. And if I just compare just the standard performance of 272, yes, my car technically has more at a full charge. At 100%, it's more than 272, but Tesla recommends me to charge it only to 80% if you have the long range. And 80% of this is 265, I believe, 265, 267 at 80%. So I have less range than pretty much all of the cars here, except for the performance. But what does the performance get me? They get me like double, like 2 seconds faster compared to what I have. The newer design, custom seats, sports seats, a bespoke design in the front, so new spoiler in the back. And when this car came out, I wanted to transfer and change my order to the performance, but I didn't, because the full self-driving transfer would not be honored since I purchased this car and started the full self-driving transfer for this long range. And now full self-driving is back. So I just really upset that I just wish that, like, the new customers, great, you get the better choice, you get more range, you get to pay cheaper, and I totally get that. But it's just frustrating that I lucked out so much by 6 weeks, and all these incentives started rolling out that could have made the car a lot cheaper to buy now versus buying when it first came out. Like, I'm not gonna rant on any longer about why I wish I had waited. I love the car. I have what I want in here. I have the long range Model 3. I have the quick 4.2 seconds 0 to 60. I have full self-driving on here. It's great. I love the car. I just wish I had waited now to buy it, to utilize and to get all those incentives that Tesla is rolling out for people to purchase the car. Lower finance rates, a bunch of things. But yeah, that's been it. Things I like about the car: exterior, interior, things I dislike, minor annoyances, and my rant about why I should have waited. So let me know down in the comments which Model 3 you have, which Tesla you have. If you didn't get the tax credit like I did, let me know. We can all be upset at Tesla about it. That's been it. Thanks for watching this quick review. Bye for now.